Hello and welcome to the 5th Roundtable podcast. It has been a while. It's been like a week or like almost 2 weeks now since I've done a proper video. So yeah, this is kind of due to the instability of having school and stuff at the same time as doing YouTube things. It kind of gets in the way of everything. But I mean, by Christmas it's probably going to be more consistent uploads by then. But yeah, so I've returned. I'm not dead. I mean it's not been that long, but it has been quite a bit. As you can see, I'm not playing. You can see Bioshock 2 footage, and that's because I actually recently completed Bioshock 2 on stream. But we'll go on to Bioshock in a bit. But I'm a bit annoyed because I was doing the ending, but it didn't stream that bit, so I'm a bit pissed off about that. But I have something else to be pissed off about, and that's Animal Crossing. Now, I've never talked to Animal Crossing really, to be honest, not even on Discord actually, but I think this is just kind of an unpopular opinion, I guess, but I think the franchise has kind of gone a bit downhill, and, you know, that sounds a bit weird because, like, why do you care so much about a game with bloody animal characters in, and it's just a bit of a laugh? Why do you care so much about it? Well, I think the problem is it's lost its charm, if you know what I mean. So I started the Animal Crossing series with Wild World on the DS, and that was just awesome. But the thing about that is that there wasn't much kind of censoring or stuff. It wasn't necessarily just meant for kids, really, because Animal Crossing at the time, it was just something you'd go and play just every day, you know, to do menial things, like, I don't know, fishing and stuff. But also, the dialogue was so good in that game. Like, all the characters, all the animals had their own kind of problems. They all were flawed characters, and they weren't necessarily all nice to you. No, they could be pretty mean, actually, you know. And yeah, and it's just kind of a shame that it's just the dialogue's just got so watered down over the years. Especially, I mean, in New Leaf it was getting worse, but now it's just nothing. There's no conflict there. There's no realism in that kind of thing. I think that's what makes Animal Crossing. Is just how actually the good of the writing is of the characters, and that makes them quirky and charming. And also, it's just the whole game feels just slightly watered down. There's no kind of the thing is with older Animal Crossings that they didn't really hold your hand a lot. Everything you had to think about, and nothing was kind of, there was no real set path for you, and that's just how Animal Crossing was at the time, and I think that's what it really is to me. But I think now they just want to appeal to a wider audience and just make it more watered down and make it okay for everyone. But I just don't think, it just takes away the magic of Animal Crossing. That's what makes Animal Crossing to me, is the characters, and, you know, how free and real everything feels. Even though it is, you know, a bit ridiculous, it just feels, you know, right like that. And it's just, I think it's a problem because no one's really, I mean, I've heard some people talking about it, but it's become sort of a thing like, oh, this is what Animal Crossing is supposed to be. It's supposed to be just quite simple, and the characters are quite basic and everything. But that's not how it's always been. It has been, in the past, a very kind of much less than surface level game. It's been quite a, you know, this is a bit of a rant, but yeah, I think Animal Crossing especially was quite disappointing because since New Leaf, although did do some good things, and I'll give it, New Leaf was quite a good game, and the dialogue was alright, but it wasn't as good as Wild World. but that still had some charm, but it had a little bit less than Wild World. And I thought, you know, maybe improve the dialogue, maybe just make it more Animal Crossing-y for the next game. And they kind of did the opposite and just made this game set on an island, and it's a bit like Minecraft, which isn't really what Animal Crossing is. That's not what it is. Animal Crossing is, you go to a town, you meet all these characters who are already there, and you just live in this world, and you can choose what you want to do with the world. They're not forcing you, unlike New Horizons, but they're not forcing you to do anything, and not banging on about you, telling you to upgrade certain things and stuff. But I just don't like that pressure that the new game gives you. It's like, and it's always giving you like new perks and stuff for everything, and it's just very obvious, and there's no kind of I think you'll understand what I mean if you played Wild Worlds. You'll get what I mean. But yeah, I think that's my rant on Animal Crossing New Horizons. I mean, it's not necessarily a rant, I'll just say it's just kind of an annoyance. What next? Okay, I have sort of come up with an idea, and that is, what is the difference between the Backrooms and SCP-3008? So, I've just kind of got into the Backrooms. Well, I haven't literally gone to the Backrooms, I have no clips out of reality. But I've kind of got into the whole fandom within the Backrooms, and it's really interesting. But I did know about SCP-3008 first, because I'm into SCP already, so I learned about that, and it was just the coolest thing when I first heard about, like, an infinite IKEA with, like, if you're not aware of what SCP is, or Backrooms are, sorry, but SCP is kind of it's basically this fictional foundation on the internet, where people post different SCPs, inverted commas, which are these different entities and beings which have anomalous properties and don't really make sense from normal science, and they are contained by this foundation called the SCP Foundation. And it's quite an interesting thing. But the Backrooms is essentially this world where you sort of, this thing called no-clipping, and no-clipping essentially means that you can phase through reality, essentially, and when you phase through reality, then you go into the Backrooms, in this, obviously not real life, but in this world, and it's sort of like this, well, level 0, which is the first level of the Backrooms. It's like this kind of like sort of dingy old apartment building with like really like a soggy carpet, and it's just disgusting, and it's very eerie and odd, and there's different levels and stuff, and it's very meta and weird. But the thing is, the SCP-3008 is sort of infinite, a bit like the Backrooms, but the Backrooms isn't really infinite. They also both have settlements in their worlds, so and different outposts and things, and there's sort of similar survival things, and also the entities. What were they called? I think they're called the Facelings. I'm not entirely sure. That's very similar to, well, not say very similar, it's quite similar to SCP-3008-1, which are like the IKEA staff, which have no faces, which kind of get you at night. Actually, that's a bit more like SCP, that's more like the Backrooms level 1, where you actually have a night cycle, a bit like 3008. So I think level 1 is a bit more like 3008, but I think 3008 came out first, so they might have took some inspiration from 3008, but it's sort of like, because it's already based in its own world, SCP-3008, The Backrooms is its own universe, and it's got its own depths. Sorry about that, my microphone just died for some reason. Yeah, it's got its own kind of depths, and it's its own universe, whereas SCP-3008 is just its own kind of SCP, which means it's kind of limited. So it's not too powerful or too big, although there are other SCPs with like their own sort of world and universe around them, but the Backrooms in itself is its own separate kind of creepypasta thing, which is kind of cool, but there's so much to it, and because the Backrooms is a lot more recent, it kind of started in like 2019, I think, so it was literally just a year ago, whereas SCP's been around since like over 10 years. It's been around almost as long as me, really. SCP is almost as old as me, so it has a lot of time to grow and to flesh out. So I think it's kind of cool. So if you're interested, you can go on the wiki. I think there's a wiki for SCP the Backrooms, and also just look up SCP Foundation, because that's awesome. I think that's it. Also, Bioshock Minerva's Den. I may be streaming that either tonight or tomorrow if I've got the time. That's like the DLC for Bioshock 2, which is the game I'm playing in the background. So, that's going to be awesome. What else? I think that's it. Right, if you enjoyed the video, you can like it. If you enjoy my content, you can subscribe to see more of my videos and support the channel. You could share the video with your friends if you found it interesting, and I will see you in the next video. Right, see you later.